today's technology be the key to enhancing both productivity and well-being in the workplace? Well, in today's episode of Tech Talks Daily, I want to explore the intersection of human-centered management and innovative technology within the supply chain sector. Because joining me today is Matt Gregory. He's the Managing Director of Northern Europe for Körber Business Area Supply Chain. And he brings with him over 17 years of industry expertise to this conversation. And I'm going to ask him to share his insights on how he is seeing technologies such as AI, robotics and digital twins that are not only optimizing warehouse operations, but are also crucial to improving overall employee satisfaction and retention. I think this is such an important topic because there's a lot of nervousness around technology taking jobs, and we're seeing the rise of smart warehouses. I want to learn more about how technology and humans are not competing against one another, but actually complementing each other. So buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to Milton Keynes here in the UK, where Matt is waiting to join me. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell everyone listening a little about who you are, Matt, and what you do?
Yeah, thanks, Neil. So great to be with you today. My name is Matt Gregory. I'm the Managing Director in Northern Europe for Körber Supply Chain Software, based in the UK. So I've got a team of about 150 people based out of the UK that focus their lives and daily activity around supply chain technology. And it's great to come and join you today to talk about some of the trends that we're seeing in the market.
Well, thank you for sitting down with me today. Every day I always say technology works best when it brings people together. And we often get so distracted by the shiny next big thing, and we often forget the human element to that as well. And one of the things that attracted me to you is that you've emphasized that employee well-being is pivotal for successful supply chain management. And another thing I try and do on this podcast is get people thinking differently about areas that maybe you don't associate with technology, and supply chain management is probably one of those. So can you elaborate on how at Körber's solutions prioritize well-being and in turn drive productivity and retention in the warehouse environment? Because it feels like there's so much going on here, you know?
Yeah, happily. And for me, well-being and what I call really the human factors about enabling our people to turn up every day and do a great job and enjoy what they're doing, for me is the critical success factor for any system. I think when we talk technology, sometimes we can get caught up with the technological solution of how does the software work? How does the automation work? How does robotics work? But at the end of the day, the only reason we're using these tools is to enable our people to turn up every day, enjoy what they do, love what they do, and contribute positively towards a great customer experience. And for me, I've been in supply chain around 20 years. We've made great strides in really understanding that we can design the best systems and processes in the world, but if we do that in isolation without actually understanding who's going to be using this, how do they need to use it, and what are we actually asking them to do with it day in, day out, we're missing the opportunity to actually ensure this is actually successful. If you look at the warehouse and the supply chain space, outside of the military, it's probably one of the largest employers of people across the globe. So for me, the human factors and the human elements of how we use technology in the supply chain is critical for us to actually be successful in what we're trying to achieve with it.
And I suspect we will have a lot of people listening around the world in various industries that very seldom think about the rapid advancement of warehouse technologies. But it is a huge space for innovation and disruption at the moment. And as someone right in the eye of the storm here, I'm curious, what recent trends have you observed, and what have any predictions of how warehouse technology will continue to evolve and transform in the next few years? Because again, a lot of people listening, they'll be blissfully unaware of what's happening here.
Well, I think in the last 10 years, if you think of the rise of e-commerce and some of the challenges we had in those pandemic years, has really put warehousing technology and warehousing and supply chain on a lot more people's radars. They've understood that actually the ghost in the machine that ensures that the products arrive on the shelf is that warehouse and that supply chain space. And they've understood the size of the industry and the number of people that work day in and day out, sometimes antisocial hours, to ensure that those products and services get delivered, have become far more visible. So what we're certainly seeing as certain warehousing trends in the market is we've seen adoption of technologies to enable those individuals. So what do I mean by that? We've seen adoption of technologies such as voice-directed work to help people operate hands-free and eyes-free in a busy environment such as a warehouse. We've seen adoption of automation and robotics, not to replace the human workforce, but actually to augment and support them. And what we're starting to see now is a really growing need of technology operating systems to start to tie together these disparate technologies. And for us, I think that's really interesting. You've got a lot of incredibly complicated systems that are working very hard to ensure we're efficient, we're effective, and we're asking people to use their time in the most efficient means and method. However, with that rise in the complexity, when the rise of uses of different pieces of technology, we've got to make sure that it's coordinated, it's orchestrated. And for me, the big trend I'm seeing is a need for a common platform and a layer that sits across the software systems that run our supply chains, the technology and the tools that we're asking our people to use, and the tools and mechanisms we can use to actually give our people feedback in how they're performing as they're going through their daily tasks. So for me, that common middleware, for want of a better word, or a universal platform that sits across the systems, the processes, and the people that allow us to orchestrate that effort and to ensure that we're not creating silos.
And another topic I wanted to explore with you today is technology's role in job creation, because there is a common concern out there, especially with the rise of AI, that technology and automation, etc., might displace workers. We are seeing certain evidence of that in some industries. But based on your experience, how is technology actually creating more opportunities for employees within the supply chain sector specifically? What are you seeing here?
So I think probably to really understand this point, I think it's important for us to realize that we have a shortage of people across the supply chain. So technology is actually necessary for us to meet the demands for the supply chain. And technology is there to augment, support, and enable us to be more efficient with the people that we have. If I think about the tasks that we are asking people to do in a very manual warehouse, if we go back 20, 25 years, everything was manual. Everything was paper-based. We were asking people to walk long distances. We were asking them to fill out pieces of paper. We had whole back office teams manually inputting data into multiple different systems. So we had people doing a whole range of tasks that, quite frankly, were not particularly fulfilling. They were necessary, they were needed. But really, what we're seeing now with the rise of technology in the supply chain is we're able to take away some of those mundane tasks and allow people to focus on the tasks that we actually need them to focus on. To focus on the more interesting tasks. Focus on, ensuring that we get the product out to the end customer, packaged beautifully and organized correctly to meet the deadlines that we need. Trying to minimize things like walking time, trying to allow people to work with automation and robotics just enables us to be more agile, more dynamic, and to operate a little bit faster. For me, technology isn't taking jobs, it's enabling jobs. And what comes with the use of technology is also roles for functions that didn't exist 20 years ago. You've got teams inside warehouses today that are specialists in automation. You've got teams that are specialists in adapting and configuring their warehouse management systems to adapt to changes in demand. You've got teams that are sat there that are working alongside robotics. All of these supporting functions, these roles didn't exist 25 years ago. So really, it's about the evolution and changing space. It's not around automation is taking jobs out of the market. It's a necessary tool to enable us to keep pace with the market. I was sat at a supply chain event, must be 10 years ago now. And the prediction was in the next 3 years, we're going to need 3 times more warehouses than we have and 300% more people than we have. Technology is only allowing us to try and keep pace with that demand. It's certainly not taking opportunities out of the market. If anything, it's creating them.
And just to bring to life what we're talking about here and help people listening understand the value of AI and supply chain efficiency, etc., how can businesses better leverage solutions and technology to enhance efficiency and productivity right across their supply chains? Is there anything you can share around here that will just bring that topic to life?
So we talk a lot about AI and the efficiencies that it can bring. And for me, warehouses have had a phenomenal 15 years of embracing technology in the way in which they've put in modern warehouse management systems, modern warehouse control systems. They put in technologies such as voice and robotics. Where I see the opportunity for technologies such as AI is to put in more of a proactivity in how those tools and systems are used. So for the last 15 years, we've done a great job of providing supply chain leaders, ship supervisors, supply chain managers with great real-time data to enable them to make decisions, to adapt to changes in their demand, to adapt to challenges that come at them on a daily basis. But we've still been very dependent on those individuals making those decisions. We've been dependent on saying, here we are, Neil, this is what's happening in the market. Do you want to change how you've configured where certain products are in your warehouse to mean that when the orders come in, can we pick them more quickly? Can we get them out to our customers more effectively? What I'm seeing with AI and our new supply chain technologies is we're actually able to make some of those decisions on their behalf. We're doing a better job of guiding them and giving them better information. I think where we're going to see that evolving is to the systems are now getting capable of making that proactive suggestion or amendment. And the supply chain leaders are there essentially just to say stop if they disagree with it, as opposed to having to come up with that solution. And that's giving them more time to work with their people, more time for them to work with their business. So for me, it's a really exciting evolution. It's not a revolution. We're not saying that we need to stop using our brains and allow the computers to make the decisions for us. It's enabling us to make better decisions more effectively and more efficiently. And that's where I see the role of AI.
And from a security standpoint, it often feels like somewhat of a double-edged sword because the integration of AI can present new opportunities for sure and also additional threats for supply chain security. So what role do you see these technologies playing in better safeguarding the supply chain and how businesses can effectively navigate some of these challenges? Because it is a bit of a concern, isn't it? And it is a big target sometimes.
It is. And I think it goes back to the point I just made around overdependency.
Yeah.
It's a decision support tool. It is not a black box. And I think if you use it as such, you're using it within the confines of your existing data pool. You're not opening it up to the wider internet. You're still using it within the pool. And when you do that, you're taking a very smart and considered approach to data security. All you're actually doing is using AI to interpret the data you already have. And as an organization, we're making sure that when we approach this, we're doing it within the confines of our warehouse management system or our automation systems to make sure that we're just saying, here's the data, here's a suggested path forward. Does this work for your business? When you start to actually go too far down that route and go, actually, let's start connecting everything, let's start using tools outside of our systems, then I think you've got a risk. I think at the moment it's about leveraging enhancements to existing systems rather than opening up to the wider environment. So I think a cautious cybersecurity-led approach will give benefits to supply chain. It needs to be used in context of what you need from a system.
And I would also add that automated systems are crucial for managing supply chain complexity and, of course, supporting business growth. Incredibly important right now. And how are you seeing smart warehouses continuously evolving too to meet those needs? And also any key factors in successfully implementing such systems? Because we hear a lot of hype around smart warehouses. A lot of people know what they need to do, but implementing, things can quickly get complicated, can't they? As with any tech project.
I think, for me, most of the warehouses we meet today, Neil, are smart warehouses. They've taken that investment into technologies and into configurable and flexible solutions. If I go back over a few years, we've really seen a 360 from the supply chain and warehousing space being there to support retail and supply retail. What we're now seeing is that supply chain and the warehousing systems, particularly these smart warehouses, are enabling retail. Our consumers are quite rightly demanding flexibility in how they engage with our brands. They want to engage through bricks and mortar stores. They want to engage through e-commerce and online, but they don't want to engage with them independently. They want to engage with them as one. So by doing that, supply chain is enabling that to happen. And the smartest warehouses that we have today are the ones that can deal with changes in demand, the ones that can deal with the fact that actually, as we're coming up to peak events such as Black Friday, I've got the ability to support my workforce with additional automation to make sure that I can increase throughput. I also have the flexibility to deal with changes in demand that if my product mix changes dramatically, I have flexibility in my system to make quick changes to adapt to that. So gone are the days of building a design, spending 9, 10, 12 months, really getting it right, and crossing your fingers and hoping it's going to be the same for the next 10 years. Our customers and our systems are being built with flexibility and adaptability in mind. Our configuration tools that we provide to our customers are designed not only for us to be able to make changes on their behalf, but for them to be able to make changes on their behalf. And it loops back to our point around the roles inside a modern business that has a supply chain and a warehousing element is they are so broad now. You've got people inside our customer base that are adapting and configuring the system on a regular basis to adapt to changes. They could bring in a new supplier. They can have a new product mix. They could decide to put in a new area of their warehouse. And having those adaptability tools built in allows the system to be flexible. And extending that out to not just the system, but actually the user interfaces and the technologies that we're using. Very few warehouses are one size fits all when it comes to the technologies and tools that we give to our team that work inside the warehouse. Let's use barcode scanning where it makes sense. Let's use voice where it makes sense. Let's use robotics where it makes sense. Let's use traditional automation. For me, that's what a flexible smart warehouse relies on. It's that flexibility and adaptability.
And of course, we are seeing a continuously increasing customer demand. And there's also this increasing need for high throughput operations. And I don't expect you to name any particular company here, but how are you seeing software and automated solutions being successfully leveraged to create those future-proof retail environments we're talking about, and what that successful implementation looks like? I would imagine you picked up quite a few stories and seen a lot of things over the years, but what are you seeing now?
So, you do have very high throughputs, and every organization has a different strategy of how they want to service those. Do they want to do that from a central operation, and do they want to do that from a distributed operation? What we spend a lot of time doing with organizations right at the very beginning is simulating the options. We've invested in digital twin technologies and tools that allow us actually to try out different options and different ways of configuring the systems, building the systems, to allow us to see that ahead of time in terms of the implementation. Test out those theories in a safe space before putting pen to paper. So for us, that really is enabling those organizations to make great decisions at the start of a major project. But it's also enabling them to go back to that same model once a system has been put in, once it's running. But if they're then considering a change to how they're operating, giving them really a whiteboard, for want of a better word, to start testing out new ideas whilst the operation continues. So for me, that digital twin concept of having a virtual environment to start changing and adapting your system has become really important. And when we have that, when we get into that implementation mode, we find it's far, far faster, and it meets the needs of the business because the business has been able to physically see what it is they're getting.
Well, I cannot thank you enough for taking the time to sit down with me today, share your insights. But before I let you go, I'm going to ask you to leave everyone listening with one final gift. We have an Amazon wish list here. I always ask my guests if there's a book that means something to them or just something that they would recommend that anyone listening will check out, and I'll add it to our list. But what would you like to leave everyone listening with and why?
So the book that's probably had the biggest impact on me in my career is a book called Turn the Ship Around by David Marquet. And for me, it's around turning followers into leaders. And I think based on our conversation today, Neil, the most important thing for any supply chain organization to ensure they do is turn those followers into leaders, enabling people at every level of the organization to make a positive impact. Enabling that 18-year-old that walks onto the warehouse floor for the very first time with the best opportunity for success from day one. And this book is a great example how principles of leadership, ownership, and autonomy can be implemented at every single level of an organization. So it's a great read, and I highly recommend it.
Wow, what a great choice. I'll get that added straight to our Amazon wish list. And for anyone listening, just wanting to dig a little bit deeper, find out more information about Körber Business Area Supply Chain and the great work that you're doing there, what is the best place for them to start, especially if they want to contact you or your team?
So please reach out via our website. We've got our team available to respond back to those questions or demands. Please reach out to myself directly, and we'll put our team in contact with you. We'd just love to have a conversation. We've been doing this for a long time. We love spending time with other people in this space, just talking about what they're doing and seeing if there's a way in which we can help them.
Excellent. Well, I will get links to that added to the show notes so people can easily click on there, find you nicely. And we covered so much there, from productivity and well-being in the warehouse, AI in the supply chain, smart warehouses, managing supply chain complexity, and ultimately creating future-proof retail solutions, and even had time to leave us with a cracking book too. But thank you so much for sitting down and sharing your story and insights today.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me on.
What a great conversation. And if anyone wants to dig a little bit deeper on anything we talked about, please visit KörberSupplyChainSoftware.com. That's Korber, KörberSupplyChainSoftware.com. We covered a lot of ground today, discussing everything really, from the role of AI in supply chain efficiency to how smart warehouses adapt to meet those evolving customer demands. And for me, I think it's clear that technology can be a powerful tool for enhancing productivity and employee well-being. And yes, it presents new challenges, new complexities, but what are your thoughts on using technology to both support and advance the workforce? Because this is a topic I don't think gets talked about enough. So please share your views with me. Let's keep this conversation going. You can email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram @Neil C. Hughes. Nice and easy to get hold of, but let me know your thoughts. So yes, today with supply chain, how technologies like AI, robotics and digital twins are not only optimizing warehouse operations, but proving to be crucial for improving employee satisfaction and retention. Tomorrow, I've got a completely different topic to discuss. But once again, we'll talk about how technology works best when it brings people together and complements the human workforce rather than competing against it. So hopefully you'll join me again tomorrow. It's another great one, but thank you for listening today. And until next time, don't be a stranger.